In October, there were questions. Entering April, there are answers. And lots of them. The University of Connecticut is back where it belongs. The Final Four. Starting the season 14-0, reaching the number 2 ranking in the country, Dan Hurley's Huskies went from being unranked in the preseason, having the country unsure of what they would be, to returning to the national radar. The Big East season came. Within it, the league challenged this team. What has ensued, though, is a 13-2 record for this program since January 25th. It's highlighted by one of the nation's best big men, a surefire sharpshooting NBA draft prospect, the epitome of a leader, and a group filled with depth. For the Huskies, Houston is the destination. They are 2 wins shy of glory, an all-too-familiar sight for the 4-time national champions from the basketball capital of the world. The Final Four awaits, and UConn is still standing.
We are blasting off in Houston for the Final Four, everybody. From Space Center Houston, an immersive, amazing museum that's affiliated with the Johnson Space Center. Hello and welcome to Big East Shootaround. The Connecticut Huskies are in the Final Four for the 6th time. John Fanta checking in with all of you. We've got a loaded show for you coming up. We'll have sound from the Huskies players about this journey to the Final Four. UConn at 29-8, and in the state of Texas, it's treated them very, very well. Their last 3 national championships have all come by way of the state of Texas, and now back here in Houston, where the last time we were here with you on Shootaround at the Final Four, the Villanova Wildcats won it with one of the greatest shots in NCAA tournament history, Chris Jenkins. You can't come back here and not think about Big Smooth. But let's turn to headlines here with these Connecticut Huskies. Number 1, Houston. They've had no problems. UConn has rolled throughout the NCAA tournament, and they've done it with depth, with firepower. The second half for this team has been fantastic. They've outscored their opponents 174-107 in their 4 NCAA tournament victories. Adama Sanogo is playing like the All-American that he is. He's averaged 20-10 in the NCAA tournament, and Jordan Hawkins has combined for 44 points in his last 2 games. Now, Hawkins' status entering tonight, it's up in the air a little bit. He was dealing with a stomach virus on Friday, did not practice, was unavailable. Andre Jackson told us yesterday, though, he has full confidence that the sophomore superstar will play. Number 2, let's look at the Canes, the Miami Hurricanes. This has been an amazing ride for Jim Larinaga, one of 10 active coaches in Division I with 700 or more victories. He has had quite the run with the Hurricanes, and he's gotten them to their first ever Final Four. An amazing, amazing journey for this Miami team, and you think about what they've done here. They beat Houston. They then beat Texas, and now they're here in this Final Four. In fact, this game against UConn tonight, 8:49 Eastern Time on CBS, will be the 3rd consecutive game that Miami's played against a top 5 KenPom team. Folks, this is no slouch. This is no total surprise. Miami belongs here. They made the Elite Eight a year ago, and they've got a dynamic trio of Isaiah Wong, Nigel Pack, and Jordan Miller. We'll see them in action here this evening, and it'll be quite the interesting battle between a couple of old Big East foes. Miami spending some time in the Big East when they joined in the 90s. Number 3, Dan Hurley. Fulfilling a journey. A journey that we'll tell you more about here at NASA. They make plenty of them. A journey that has come with its challenges and adversity. A kid from Jersey City, the son of the legend Bob Hurley Sr., the brother of Bobby, who was the Duke star, 2-time national champion there. Now Dan is in the spotlight, and his team has been so fantastic in this NCAA tournament. The way that they've dominated, the way that they've controlled everything. It seems as though as the stage gets bigger, as the lights get brighter, just like the astronauts that go into space, Hurley has only gotten better and calmer and composed. His team has been otherworldly. And tonight, they enter a stage in Houston where UConn is back where it belongs. Back on this stage of the Final Four, looking to capture their fifth national championship since 1999. Nobody in college basketball, outside of the Huskies, has more than 3 since 99, that being North Carolina. Blue blood? You bet. And we talked to the Huskies about the standard, the UConn standard, being on this stage, what it means, and what stands in front of them as they square off with the ACC regular season champion Hurricanes tonight. Here's some of those sights and sounds from NRG Stadium.
I think we're all really excited and we can't wait to take the court. So one of the biggest stages we ever played on. So it's great and I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, the UConn standard is, we're just a tough team that goes out there and competes at every game. This year, I feel like, we started off the year as, sticking to the UConn standard, coming out and, battling every game. And then we went through a tough stretch where, we lost 6-7 games, out of 10, so it was, we weren't sticking to our identity, weren't sticking to that UConn standard of playing physical, tough, and then now in the tournament, we picked it back up again. And, it's just, we just got to, this weekend's when it all counts. I mean, this is what we worked all year for. So, we got to stick to that UConn standard of, playing our identity, playing tough, and, just doing what we do.
If it wasn't for January, I don't think we'd be here. As much as it sucked, I mean, that's where our team grew the most, and that's when our team really came together, when we had those tough stretches. We losing 4 out of 5, and, just not looking like that team that we were earlier in the year. Then we had team meetings. We told each other, what each player has to do better. And now on the court, I could tell Andre and Adama something, and they'll take it in, and they could do the same for me. So, I definitely say we grew a lot and learned a lot about each other.
It's just a team effort, really knowing the scouting report, getting in the gaps when we can, and really knowing the scouting report, guys that are shooters, being closer to them, and then guys that are more drivers, being in the gaps off them, and really just playing team defense. That's all it comes down to, is guarding the ball. They have a lot of guys that can really score one-on-one, create their own shot, so you definitely got to guard your own defense, like your own man, but also just like knowing that you have your brother behind you there to support you if you do get beat.
At the end of the day, you just got to play your game. I mean, that's what kind of Coach Hurley told me to do. Like, no matter what your role is, just play your game. I mean, if that's starting, coming off the bench, just do what you do. He's not asking anything extra, you know what I mean? But he's just stay poised, and just be ready for the big moments, because the atmosphere gets bigger and bigger from now on. You know what I mean? We're in Final Four, we're playing a football arena, not a basketball arena. So we just gotta be ready for the moment.
Just trying to put on for Connecticut, and this weekend, just trying to do what we want to do, and what the state of Connecticut wants us to do.
I mean, I can't wait. We got the best fans in the country. I can't wait for the national anthem, so that he scream on UConn. So they always showing love, showing support, and really a great fan base, and I can't wait to see him.
It's important that we go out there tomorrow and leave it all on the floor, no matter the result. Hoping we win, obviously, but we just got to go out there, play how we play, and put on a show for Connecticut.
Welcome back, everybody, to Shootaround. We are at Space Center, Houston. You're looking at the Skylab main work area, where often astronauts would come and try different experiments as they were on missions. And here in Houston, if you have never been to the Space Center, we appreciate them hosting us. You have got to come out. I'm blown away by everything that we have seen. And speaking of being blown away, every opponent of UConn has been just that. The Huskies have left a lot of teams looking like that, wanting to just leave the building, because they have rolled. They've dominated their way through this NCAA tournament. And you can't help but look around this week when UConn has either been at NRG Stadium or when they've been back at their team hotel, which we've spent some time with them there, and Richard Hamilton is walking in to the hotel. 1999 NCAA tournament most outstanding player at the Final Four. And then you think about the fact that Emeka Okafor is here. He is regarded as the epitome of the UConn student athlete and arguably the greatest Big East Conference student athlete of all time. Big East Player of the Year, Scholar Athlete of the Year. He did it all. Kemba Walker will be here. He'll be at NRG Stadium. What he did in 2011, unprecedented. To win 5 games in 5 days at Madison Square Garden. Follow that up with 6 consecutive victories to claim a national championship. And most recently for the Huskies, 9 years ago, Shabazz Napier, the latest UConn guard. What does it mean to be a UConn guard? That's standard. That you come to stores, you work on your craft, and you can follow in the footsteps of guys like Napier, Kemba Walker, Ben Gordon. The list goes on and on and on. Who's going to write their chapter tonight? The matchup with Miami awaits. 8:49 Eastern Time on CBS. And when you think about this showdown, guard play will be critical for Connecticut, whether it be Tristan Newton, whether it be Jordan Hawkins. Folks, watch out for Andre Jackson. And if you're not watching out, have you been watching? What he has done in this NCAA tournament, 31 assists in 4 games. 31 assists in 4 games. He has been the delivery man for the Connecticut Huskies. So important at distributing the basketball and making the Huskies, Skylab main work area, work pretty well. All right, let's turn to our Ask the Experts segment. Earlier this week, we caught up with a guy who actually lives in Connecticut. He knows this program all too well, folks. It's Andy Katz from NCAA.com, my Fox Sports colleague. He talked about what this would mean for the Huskies, a 5th national championship since 1999, and where they stand heading into the Final Four. It's time for Ask the Experts ahead of the Final Four showdown between UConn and Miami on Saturday night. My Fox Sports colleague, NCAA.com. You can find him everywhere. It's Andy Katz. Andy.
Yes, sir.
You have covered many a Connecticut run to the Final Four. This is their
been to
6th.
every one of their championships.
Every one.
Yes.
When you think of UConn basketball historically, throughout the years, what they've meant to the sport, what pops in your head?
Well, okay, first of all, they're a blue blood. All right, let's just put that to rest. They are a blue blood. Because I don't know who decided this definition. I mean, first of all, UCLA has not won a title since 95. Indiana not since 87, maybe, I think. So is there a statute of limitations on when you win a championship? They're a blue blood. I mean, Dan's trying to be the 3rd coach to win a championship. Calhoun in 99, 04, 11, Kevin Ollie in 14. How is that not a blue blood? I mean, they are.
Mm-hmm. You visited with this team a ton this week. What have your takeaways been?
Really relaxed, not feeling the pressure and the stress of being the favorite. And it's interesting how this is completely flipped because I don't think have ever felt being the favorite all year, even though 14-0, number 2 in the country, they won the tournament in Portland. And then just when it looked like they were going to be the favorite in the Big East, they went sideways. And then as well as they were playing, they still were further down in the standings. So it's this. You tell me you follow this. I feel like this is the first time all season that they are the favorite to win a championship.
It's true.
You know, you could make the argument they were playing well and they were tabbed as the favorite maybe in New York, but Marquette had just won the regular season. So they weren't the top seed at the Big East tournament. They weren't the favorite in Portland to win that championship. Mm-hmm. This feels like the first time all year they are the favorite to win a championship.
And it seems as though...
You agree with me?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And it seems as though, folks, as the stage has gotten bigger, Dan Hurley has actually gone the other direction. He's gotten more relaxed and calmer. That's unique.
Well, the other thing he said in our sit-down the other day was he was actually surprised, because it is abnormal, that they never faced second-half adversity in any of these games so far.
None.
Iona, St. Mary's, Arkansas, Gonzaga. You just kept waiting for it to happen, and it never happened. So we'll see. I mean, that's the one thing I guess we're waiting to find out is how do they handle a late possession game, if we even get one, on Saturday or potentially Monday. How would they handle that?
In the second half of NCAA tournament games, 4 of those, UConn has outscored their opponents 174 to 107, close to a 70-point advantage there. All right, Miami on the other side of this matchup. What do you think are the key ingredients to this game entirely?
Well, Miami can score. They've got a veteran group. They're not going to be afraid of the moment. Clearly UConn has the advantage with Sonogo and Klingon. So it's like Noah's Ark. They got 2 over everything. And, can Miami deal with that up front? Because I think they can match the perimeter. Let's assume that Jordan Hawkins is okay health-wise. I know he's under the weather on Friday. So let's assume, Miami still can meet that moment on the perimeter. But can they inside? That's the question.
All right, last one for the expert.
Yes.
Rick Pitino to St. John's.
Yes.
Ed Cooley to Georgetown. Kim English to Providence.
Yes, I love them all. Love all the hires.
Bryce Hopkins and Devin Carter are going to be back.
Yep.
Marquette returns pretty much everybody.
Yep.
Creighton brings back a loaded core.
Yes.
UConn doesn't look like they're slowing down.
Are you doing my Power 36 for me here?
How strong is the Big East?
It's great. I mean, they're going to have a great year. There's no question. I mean, we got to wait and see what happens with Georgetown, what the roster looks like, because they were at the bottom. Now, I think it's a little, the high expectations to expect Ed to jump right back up. I got to see Rick Pitino obviously has done a great job in a short amount of time wherever he's been. But we got to see what that roster will look like. It feels like there might be more returning. No, at St. John's? No, clean house?
No, pretty much a house.
All right, so clean slate, maybe at both places, yeah. St. John's and Georgetown. So we'll see. We don't know that. But those others, Marquette, UConn, Creighton, for sure. I'd like to see what happens with Sean Miller 2.0, at Xavier, what they're going to have back. I fully expect them to still be in the mix in some form or fashion. So the league's going to be deep. It's going to be competitive. And I fully expect them to get a high percentage of their teams in the tournament.
It is wild to think 365 days ago, Villanova was the clear class of the Big East.
Yeah, we didn't even mention them. You just rattled off all
them.
These Big East teams, and you never mentioned Villanova.
They'll be back. Kyle Neptune will get them going.
But isn't that crazy? You didn't even mention them.
Life changes, but the march of the Big East goes on.
There you go.
So does the march of Andy Katz. We thank Andy Katz for his time. One small step for man, another Final Four leap for the Connecticut Huskies. Well, that's a little bit of a play on words to the legend, Neil Armstrong, who had that famous quote back in the day. The UConn Huskies in the Final Four tonight in Houston at NRG Stadium against Miami, 8:49 Eastern Times. Welcome you back to Space Center Houston here on Big East Shootaround. Thanks to our astronaut friends for welcoming us here today for the show. Hey, when you think about greatness, when you think about a mission to the moon, you think about having the ultimate mission of winning championships. There is no one, and I mean no one, that embodies being outstanding more than the man that we had on earlier this week. It says it all about him that his season ended earlier than normal, without a Final Four appearance for Connecticut women's basketball for the first time since 2007. Make no mistake about it, UConn will be back next year. They'll have Paige Beckers, they'll have AZ Fudd going, and they will be potentially the front runner, the national front runner for the national championship. Why not? It looks like they can win it. We got his thoughts on his team, but also his thoughts on this UConn men's team and what has led them to historic heights. Here's my conversation with the Hall of Famer, Geno Auriemma. With the Hall of Famer, Geno Auriemma, who is down here with the Connecticut Huskies in Houston for the men's Final Four. And Geno, when you think about this UConn team, Danny Hurley's group, how have they been able to achieve such success?
The success has come from the incredible work ethic that Danny has and his staff, the attention to detail that they have, the ability to bring in terrific kids who are terrific players who play so well together. And everybody talks about the transfer portal and how bad it is. And the bottom line is, it is what it is, and he's used it perfectly to bring in exactly what he needed to blend in with the guys that he already had. So this wasn't like a fly-by-night, overnight sensation kind of thing. This has been happening since he got the job here. They've been preparing for this weekend. And I don't know anyone that is better at preparing their team. If you've ever been to one of his practices, you'll know what I'm talking about. So they got here the old-fashioned way. They earned it.
Let's talk about your program. What's on your mind as you enter this off season and going into 2023-24?
Well, I would love nothing better than to coach Paige Beckers for an entire season. That would make me extremely happy. She's been there 3 years at UConn, and she's played a season and a third, probably. So if we can stay healthy and avoid some of the pitfalls that we've had the last 2 years, the team that we have coming back and mixed in with the players that we've, recruited that are coming in, I think we will have the best chance to win a national championship since 2016, 17, going back. But again, everything has to fall into place, and I don't want to say like we deserve it, but we deserve a break.
That's the truth. In Big East basketball, between the men's side here, the Huskies in the Final Four, the women's side, we continue to see the Women's League evolve. 5 teams going dancing this year. What do you make of the state of the Big East Conference?
Well, back in the day, we had 8 or 9. The men had 10. I mean, we had something like 19 out of 32 teams in the NCAA tournament. It's a ridiculous number, right? And then that went away, and we had to rebuild it. And we weren't a part of the rebuilding. But they were really good during the rebuilding. Villanova won a couple of championships. We had a couple number 1 seeds, Xavier and Villanova. And I think us coming into the mix again, I think on the women's side especially, we elevated the national profile. Every time you played UConn, you had an opportunity to make a statement, like Marquette did this year, like St. John's did this year. And I think that's only going to get better and better and better as the coaches in our league go out and recruit and say, hey, you come here, you're going to play UConn twice every year, and maybe in the Big East tournament, and you can use Lopez Seneschal as an example. She was at she was at Fairfield, and everybody was like, yeah, there's a kid over there who's pretty good. Then she comes to our place, and they go, wow, she's really good. So I think that the schools in our league have been good, but nobody really knows how good, and now they're starting to see them nationally and realize you don't want to play some of our teams in the NCAA tournament.
Geno, thanks for the time. Best of luck to the Phillies on a great season.
The worst thing about being down here is everywhere I go, I see guys in Houston Astros uniforms, and it just burns me up, But you know what's great? We're down here. They have opening day, and nobody cares because the Final Four's here. I love it. Defending World Series champions, and nobody cares. I love it.
We thank Geno Auriemma for his time. The stars don't look bigger, but they do look brighter. Those were the words of Sally Ride. 40 years ago, 1983, she became the first woman to head into space. And on the 40-year anniversary of that, you think about the stars tonight at the Final Four. They are big, they are bright, but UConn has handled all of them. All of them. They've done it with dominance. Can they do it here this evening against Miami, a loaded backcourt? Once upon a time in 2006, you heard the words by George. The dream is alive. Jim Larrañaga led George Mason to the Final Four in amazing fashion. Now he's done it with this Hurricanes team. They belong here. They have earned it. But this UConn team has too, and they've done it with firepower. And tonight is about depth. It's about making sure that you don't make it just a three-point competition, that you use your size. Adama Sanogo and Donovan Clingan have been dominant forces in this NCAA tournament together. Andre Jackson has been that distributor. Jordan Hawkins, we'll see what his status exactly is, but it looks like he will play. What does he do to provide some bursts? And can this Huskies team, which has controlled the second half, which has combined for 43 assists in the last 2 games, and then more importantly, defensively. Dan Hurley said in January, the Big East, the top 5 of the Big East was as good as any league in America. He said this league is hard, and our warts got exposed, but we worked through those things. And now it's a launching pad at NRG Stadium here tonight as the Huskies pursue a 5th national championship since 1999. 8:49 Eastern Time. CBS. Jim Nance, Bill Raftery, Grant Hill, Tracy Wolfson on the call as Connecticut meets Miami in a Big East Atlantic Coast Conference showdown. Thank you to Space Center Houston for having us. I think of the words of John Young once upon a time back in 1981 with the Space Shuttle program. He said, quote, "The dream is alive. The Huskies' dream is alive tonight." And we thank you for watching Big East Shootaround. Follow us at Big East MBB throughout the evening for coverage from Houston, UConn in the Final Four. Blast off.